Truist Park, is going to host the game. First time Atlanta will have it since 2000. And, of course, you can't have an All-Star game without Shohei Ohtani being a part of it. Hardly a surprise, the NL leading vote getter with nearly 4 million votes. Mythic feats happen on an almost nightly basis.
It's unreal. And ultimately, he is the most exciting player in the game. This is the person that you stop and everything that you're doing and watch his at-bats. And now you stop and watch him back on the mound doing what he does from a starting pitching standpoint. Shohei Ohtani is doing the things that we've never seen done in this game. And how special is it that he gets the most votes?
Exactly. And, of course, that automatic trip to the All-Star game, because of the most votes, you see the numbers, pacing the NL in home runs, runs, extra base hits, slug, and OPS. Let's run through the remaining positions for the NL and begin with the finalists at first. Pete Alonso, top 10 in the NL in both home runs and RBIs, leads all first basemen in slug. But the reigning World Series MVP is the choice here. Freddie Freeman's 9th All-Star game.
He's the definition of consistency. And the fact that he's here doesn't surprise anybody once again, just because he's the heart and soul of this Dodgers team. From an offensive standpoint, he can go all over the field. He can hurt you. He can clip you with the home run. But he's one of the most consistent line drive hitters we've ever seen in this game.
He gets his 5th career start, narrow margin over Pete Alonso. And how about Freeman returning to Atlanta? The finalists at second base are both among the best in the game, Ketel Marte and Tommy Edman. Edman, the NLCS MVP. A ton of good vibes and well wishes to Marte, who can celebrate tonight with his 2nd straight All-Star start, 3rd Midsummer Classic overall.
Well deserved. One of the best hitters and defenders in our game. Remember, he was playing center field at one point, too. Just shows how athletic he is. I played with him in the Dominican. All he's done since I played with him going back to 2014 is get stronger on both sides of the plate. The power is real as a switch hitting second baseman.
And you see a fairly decent margin in which Marte won. Arizona, one of those teams that's going to be very interesting to watch at the trade deadline. The shortstop position in the National League is just stupid. Trey Turner, and C.J. Abrams aren't even finalists. Mookie Betts is a finalist, Francisco Lindor as well. And it'll be Lindor who makes his first career start. The first Met to start at short since Jose Reyes.
We feel like we've been waiting for this, right? Like, how is he not started an All-Star game? But one of the reasons why this year is he got off to an amazing start. He's notoriously a slower starter, but the home runs came early. His ability to steal bases came early as well. And helping his team win in a major way early on in this season is the reason why he'll be holding down the shortstop position this year for the National League.
56-44, very, very close. You can't go wrong, obviously, with either of those guys or any of the 5 we mentioned, but it will be Lindor. An embarrassment of riches at third base. Eugenio Suarez slugging just shy of 900 with 25 homers, but he's not a finalist. Max Muncy is in incredible June, but he's not overtaking future Hall of Famer Manny Machado, an AL starter in 2016 and 18, an NL starter in 2022, and again this season.
Well, again, he's got back to doing the run-producing things that we've seen him do, but he does it on both sides, right? Defensively, you just saw one of the plays that he made this season going down the line, but he's one of the ones that makes it so electric there at Petco Park by the way he swings the bat. He's a clutch hitter, and you mentioned the Hall of Fame track. He's a run producer, and he shows up every single night.
Again, Muncy, a dynamite month of June, but it'll be Manny Machado starting at third base. Catcher in the National League comes down to 2 of the better bats at the position. Carson Kelly got off to the scalding start, an OPS just over 850. But Will Smith is the guy. Only Ohtani has a better WAR among Dodgers. And Smith has the highest on-base percentage on L.A.
It's unreal what he's done because of the overshadowing of Freddie Freeman, the Ohtanis, the Mookie Betts, but a 320 batting average. I know we don't talk about batting average anymore, but when we talk about consistency, that's a guy putting the ball in play and doing it with authority, an OPS plus of 167, a catcher that can swing the stick.
And a decisive win over Carson Kelly. Let's bring in our great MLB insider, Jeff Passan, for the first time. Jeff, a very SoCal feel to the National League infield, except at shortstop, where it's a first for Francisco Lindor.
And it's surprising that he has never been elected to start an All-Star game, and frankly, justified and warranted. This is a future Hall of Famer, Kevin, and a guy who I think really burst onto the national scene last year. He's been there. He's been to 5 All-Star games before, but as a leader, as the heart of the New York Mets. And look, there are no wrong choices here. You could have gone with Ellie De La Cruz, with Mookie Betts, with Trey Turner. But I think that the image that people have of Francisco Lindor last year taking the Mets all the way to the National League Championship Series was indelible. And while there are others who might have better numbers this year, Lindor really has stamped his place in the game as one of the elite shortstops and one of the elite players, period.
Jeff, I love how you highlight that. And I'm going to stick on the left side of the infield as well with Manny Machado and what we've seen with him throughout the course of his career. Max Muncy has done a great job, but Machado, once again, 32 years old, already has amassed 355 home runs. He's 6 hits shy of 2,000. And at 32, he can most likely get to 3,000. One of the few guys still playing the game that can do that. I love how he started well this year and has really put the Padres on his back, especially as Fernando Tatis has kind of taken a step back.
Right. And again, behind the plate in the American League, where Alejandro Kirk is enjoying a very nice season. Well, there's no chance it wasn't going to be Cal Raleigh's position. The big dumper, is ready to unload on Atlanta.
The dump truck, he was paid and took care of business so far this first half of the season. 33 home runs and 71 RBIs. That is a good normal season for a lot of people, but he's already done that. He's already got an OPS over 1,000, but he does it from both sides. To me, that's the most impressive thing, while catching and doing a good job for the rotation as well as the bullpen, Kev.
Right, manages one of the best starting rotations in baseball and most home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break of all time. At first base in the AL now, and between Vlad Jr. and Paul Goldschmidt, 11 trips to the Midsummer Classic. Goldie got off to a volcanic start, but Vlad Jr. got the new contract this season. He's the face of baseball in Canada, former Derby champion, and he is the starter.
And he got off to a little bit of a slower start from the home run standpoint, but started picking it up and started to hit some serious bombs. The one thing about him is he's so consistent as far as being able to put the ball in play, doesn't strike out a whole lot, and is able always to have good run production and guys getting on base in front of him. Vladdy, again, one of the top in the game.
He's got a whole country behind him in the voting here. You can see that no problem he handles Goldschmidt in the voting. At second base, Jackson Holliday is a former #1 overall pick, already living up to expectations in Baltimore. But Gleyber Torres has 43 runs batted in, and the Tigers' second baseman will make his first career All-Star start. Quite the accomplishment at this stage of his career.
And it really has been an important signing for the Detroit Tigers, as they needed some serious right-handed pop in that lineup. He's done a great job of help balancing out, played a good defense at second base, but I love the idea that now he's entered into a lineup where he feels extremely comfortable alongside guys like Javier Baez, Riley Green, some names we may be talking about later.
Wasn't wanted in New York anymore, signs with the Tigers, makes the All-Star team. The AL shortstop finalists include a player authoring one of the remarkable stories in baseball, Jacob Wilson hitting as high as 372. You got Bobby Witt Jr., a generational player, but it's Wilson who pulls off the upset. Bert Campaneris, the only other A's shortstop to start an All-Star game.
An absolutely impressive job by the young player. I still remember the day he was drafted. I was there at the draft day, interviewed him, so mature, and that maturity has led over into the major leagues, in which, you know, a guy that's been so smart with the bat, always making contact, doesn't strike out. He's an old school type of player that we love to watch.
Very narrow margin of victory over Bobby Witt Jr. Let's bring Jeff Passan back in. Jeff, that's a position in the American League that includes Witt, includes 2 former World Series MVPs in Corey Seager and Jeremy Pena, not to mention Gunnar Henderson, and yet it's Jacob Wilson that's headed to the All-Star game.
Kevin, who knew that batting average still mattered? Jacob Wilson hitting .339 now, and really has been an offensive force after struggling last season in his debut. He's a fun player to watch, and I love the fact that he's going to get the national stage here at the All-Star game. You know, he's a little twitchy in the box, but he gets set and he can hit the ball to all fields. He hits for power. The son of Jack Wilson, the longtime Pittsburgh Pirate shortstop. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. is a better player than Jacob Wilson. I think Jacob Wilson would admit that. But in this case, hey, the fans had their say, and they said that they want to see Jacob Wilson in the All-Star game.
Absolutely cool to see. I like that guy, the idea that you get a young player that's had a lot of success early on, get an opportunity and to represent his team, right? You think about a team that struggled a lot, and he's been one of the ones that has stood out. I like that opportunity for him.
Been a dynamite first half of the season there for Jacob Wilson. Meantime, at third base in the American League, Jose Ramirez has been a fixture for the AL Stars really since 2017. Alex Bregman is a former All-Star MVP back in 2018. Exactly what they needed in Boston, but he's not unseating Ramirez, who's going to make his fourth All-Star game start.
Stop calling this dude underrated, because the industry knows what he's capable of doing, and it's not just swing the bat from both sides with electricity. It's also stealing bases. He's already got 21 stolen bases on the year. Defensively, he's great over there at third. Remember, he took a little bit of a cut of money to stay there in Cleveland, and he's been the brightest star there in Cleveland as well.
And a comfortable margin over Bregman to be the third base starter. At the DH spot, things took a bit of a U-turn a few weeks ago when the Red Sox stunned baseball by sending Rafael Devers to the Giants. That's opened up the field to Ben Rice, but it's Ryan O'Hearn, the winner here, a finalist a season ago, lost out to Yordan Alvarez, but this year he's headed to Atlanta.
I talked to Ryan O'Hearn earlier on this season, and he talked about the adjustments he's made as far as being smarter about his pitch selection, not feeling like he has to swing at everything early in the count. And I think young hitters can learn from a guy like him, whose now production has stood out with this team, but also the power has become more in play on a nightly basis for Ryan O'Hearn.
And really a no doubt about it job by O'Hearn, who earns the trip to the All-Star game. Look, X, as we look at the American League portion of what we've unveiled so far, Aaron Judge is the American League MVP. But it is hard to overstate just how great Cal Raleigh's been.
Because he's doing some things that we haven't seen in this game at the catcher position. And I think about doing it from both sides, both righty and lefty, with some serious power. And a lot of Seattle Mariner fans will tell you, watching these games, he does it in clutch situations as well. It's not just home runs. He's also driving the ball in the gap. He understands how to hit with guys in scoring position. He's a team player first, and he knows how important it is on the defensive side as well. I can't wait to see him do the home run derby, because he's got some of the most power we've seen in this game this year. And him and Aaron Judge are right there when we talk about MVPs.
Yeah, and Jeff, I mean, you talk about more home runs before the All-Star break than Johnny benched. It's an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, and the thing I love most about Cal Raleigh, look, he hits from both sides of the plate. He's a platinum glove winning catcher. Like, he has everything you can want in a catcher. But beyond that, he plays almost every day behind the plate. And in a position that's as difficult, as much of a grind as catcher is on guys, for Cal Raleigh to say, I want to be back there, I want to be in this lineup, I want to lead this Mariners team to the promised land, I think says as much about him as anything else, guys.
Honors with more than 4 million votes through Phase 1. No American League player had more than Aaron Judge, who automatically makes the cut. His first half includes the MLB lead, X in batting, total bases, on base, OPS, and WAR.
When I think about Aaron Judge, I think about a man that is bigger almost than the game as far as size and stature, but also how good of a hitter he is, right? Like, it's not just from a slug standpoint. It's also, hey, let me pick and choose which pitch you're going to bring to me, and I'm going to do damage with it on the right side, left side of the field, straight back. And I think the one thing that's impressive, too, is watching him be able to take his walks. He's smart enough to understand when pitchers are not approaching him and don't want anything to do with him, but also know how to hit mistakes on the outer half and on the inner half. To me, what he's doing is beyond impressive, and one of the best things we've seen in this game for a long period of time.
Look, he's a legendary power hitter, but the average X, flirting with 400. He's slumped a bit here recently, but flirting with 400.
That's what I think is the most impressive, and it takes adjustments to get to that point. For a guy that has a lot of power, right, a lot of bat speed, a very big hitter, to see him be able to shorten his swing early in the count and still be able to hit rockets all over the field. I appreciate that most, watching that from a guy that knows he can just hit, 50, 60 homers with ease. But no, I want to be a good hitter, and I want to do it all over the field. That's why he has no holes in his swing right now.
Let's bring Jeff Passan back in. Jeff, how do you put into context the season Judge is having again?
I think it's really simple, Kevin. You compare him to his peers in the American League. Aaron Judge's on-base percentage right now is 60 points higher than the next best on-base percentage, Jonathan Aranda, in the American League. Aaron Judge's slugging percentage is 81 points higher than the next best in the American League, belonging to Cal Raleigh. All you have to do is just look at him against his peers, and I think it shows you that Aaron Judge is in a stratosphere of his own, and then there's just everybody else trying to be like him.
Right, and despite the year Raleigh is having, Judge still the prohibitive betting favorite to win American League MVP. Jeff, stand by. Other AL outfield finalists include Riley Green, his teammate Javier Baez, who's resurrected his career after moving from shortstop, three-time MVP Mike Trout, three-time Gold Glove winner Stephen Kwan, and it will be Riley Green and Javier Baez joining Judge in the starting lineup. Big representation from the Tigers. Ex-Green, the offensive star, the best team in the American League.
They deserve the representation. And Green, you look at last year, we try to really figure out what type of player he is. Is this a perennial all-star? This is a dude right here, and he's shown us on a nightly basis, including most recently today and yesterday. But I think about the representation as far as Javier Baez. Think about how he switched up his whole approach at the plate. This is a guy that was easily able to expand, able to strike him out with 2 strikes. And now he's become a different hitter, and he's been more productive in the middle of this order. I talked about right-handed hitters. He's been one of those for him, for their team.
We wondered if Detroit was going to DFA Javier Baez at one point. He moves to the outfield, accepts the role, kind of like exactly what's happened there in Detroit, and he is an American League All-Star starter. Incredible to see Green and Baez making the cut. All right, Tigers and Nats today, and actually talking about it. I think it was fair to say this time last year, we didn't know if Detroit had a position all-star. They've got one in Riley Green.
People talk about this thing called an aircraft carrier, someone in the middle of your lineup that can just take over at times, and that's what we've seen him do as of recent, and it's been consistent too, Kevin.
2 3-run home runs today.
And this is the one I like too, with 2 strikes, using the middle of the field, understanding I can still get my best swing off if a pitcher makes a mistake right over the heart of the plate, and he knows exactly what to do with it. A 2-home run day with 6 RBIs. That's serious production today.
11-2 the final score. Jeff, no Trout, no Byron Buxton, no Stephen Kwan, but Judge, Baez, and Green, still a lot of pop there.
There is, and look, Riley Green's been awesome this season, but Javier Baez, what a story. I mean, a guy who really was lost for the last couple of years as a Detroit Tiger. They move him to center field this year, and he's played only 33 games there. He's played 26 games, shortstop, 19 games at third base. He's more of a super utility guy at this point. But the bat has played, and the numbers that he's put up this season, frankly, have been remarkable in a Detroit lineup that coming into the season, people wondered, where are they going to get the power? Well, Riley Green's got 21 home runs and 69 RBIs. Zach McKinstry's been great. Cole Keith is hitting lately. Spencer Torkelson's been awesome. Detroit's lineup doesn't look scary on paper, but when you look at what the Tigers have done this season, tied for the best record in all of Major League Baseball, they deserve as many All-Stars as they have. And while Javier Baez isn't your typical all-star, it's the culmination of a really great comeback story, guys.
And I think to your point, Jeff, a lot of that has to do with, it's a team-like atmosphere with the Detroit Tigers. And it can sound cliche, but I think Javier Baez has felt like really fed off of that. OPS plus at 120. And what I think about Javier Baez is, okay, I've got to figure out how to make adjustments in order for me to be on this team. And you mentioned it, close to being DFA'd maybe at one point. I've got to provide utility. I've got to provide better at bats. I've got to do better with 2 strikes. All of those things clicked for him this year, and now he finds himself in a totally different position and in an all-star game.
Several new faces among the NL All-Star finalists in the outfield. Obviously, the move back to the NL for Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow-Armstrong, 2/3 of the Cubs outfield. Andy Pages has been great, but the fan votes go to Acuna, PCA, and Tucker. Acuna made his return from a torn ACL in late May. He's got an 1,100 OPS.
La Bestia. He's instant offense. I want people to understand it is not that easy to come back from a second ACL tear and do exactly what he's been doing. inject energy into an offense that has struggled all season long. He's made it look so simple doing it.
PCA, the fastest Cub ever to 2020.
Well, this kid has been special because, look, we didn't expect the bat to all of a sudden explode. Like, we knew he had great defensive skills, great ability to run the bases. But now we've seen him level up from a power standpoint, and that's one of the reasons why the Cubs have been completely different.
And then a nice way to enter free agency for Kyle Tucker.
King Tuck, welcome to the conversation once again. We know he's one of the best players in the game. I get to talk to him often, him being from Tampa, me living down there, and I've seen now his ability to do it so consistent. He's entered into the Cubs lineup without any stop, without any hesitation, has continued doing what we've seen him do for a long period of time.
He is one of the most electrifying players in all of Major League Baseball. When I say Pete Crow-Armstrong, starting outfielder for the 2025 National League All-Star team. Pete, how's that sound?
Sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good. Still processing a little bit, and I am overly grateful right now. So it's pretty cool.
Pete, how'd you find out? Who's the first person you told, and what did you say?
Well, actually, you guys are the first people I'm talking to about this, but we just had a great little team meeting in the clubhouse, and we got to do it last year with Shota, so. Getting to hear it be about Kyle and then looking forward to the other potential All-Stars that we got. That was that's definitely a highlight of the year so far for me, for sure.
You played for one of the great high school baseball programs out there. You were a first-round pick. This success is not completely out of left field, but this has been a breakout season. When did you know that this was possible?
I mean, I think what I've kind of surprised myself with is obviously the power production, but in this specific time span, pulling the ball in the air has been something I've worked on for my whole pro career, and we're really starting to make some good improvements here. But I think inherently I've always had enough confidence to produce a year like this, and I think the focus is just it just becomes continuing the year that I'm having, and being a part of a ball club that's playing in October and winning meaningful baseball games.
Pete, do you have a favorite All-Star game memory that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the All-Star game that comes to mind is when Trout won the MVP. I just, it's hard not to love Mike Trout, especially growing up in Southern California and playing center field. He was a heck of a role model, and yeah, I mean, I definitely, the All-Star game was a time to watch, and hang out with my friends and my family. We all love baseball, and it's super meaningful.
And now you'll be that guy that young kids are watching in the All-Star game and looking up to themselves. And we look forward to seeing you in Atlanta, Pete, and we certainly look forward to seeing you against the Guardians here on ESPN tonight. Pete Crow-Armstrong, congratulations on an incredible achievement.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Think of that National League outfield: speed, power, athleticism, and man, Ronald Acuna back there in Atlanta.
And to me, I think a lot about the tools, right? Those are athletic guys that do so many good things in the outfield, but also at bat. When I think about PCA, I think about what he just mentioned. It took years for him to learn how to get to the pull side with his power. And for players, a lot of times you defeat yourself, or you can get defeated knowing that something is not working when you're trying to change something up. For him, he just stuck with it, and his tools took over, and he was able to athletically get to a point in which he understood what he was doing. Now he's got 21 home runs, and he had 10 all of last year. It shows you that certain things click, and they take time.
And look, Jeff, things have been clicking for a long time for Kyle Tucker.
He's so good, man. Like, it's the consistency with Kyle Tucker that I love the most. It's that every year, he's going to hit in the high 200s, low 300s. He's going to take his walks. He doesn't strike out. He hits 30 home runs. He steals 30 bases. He drives in 100 runs. every single season. And that's what the Chicago Cubs needed to anchor that lineup. And I think the rest of the players in the Cubs lineup have really looked at Kyle Tucker and been like, oh, so that's how you take an at-bat. So that's how you are productive like that. And Pete Crow-Armstrong, I think, is a perfect example of that. I don't know if Pete Crow-Armstrong has the season that he's having right now if Kyle Tucker is not there. But one fact that I love about this All-Star game, Kevin, and it was pointed out by our colleague and friend Jesse Rogers, the likely starting center fielders in this game, Pete Crow-Armstrong and Javier Baez, were traded for one another back in July of 2021 when the Cubs got PCA from the New York Mets in what wound up being an ill-fated deal for Javier Baez.